Good morning, traders. Today is Thursday, April 28th. My name is Charles, and this is the Pirate Traders live stream. Good morning and welcome. All right, well, what happened yesterday in the market? Yesterday, we basically just had a giant rotational day where the market just was grinding up and down all day long, balancing off the big move to the downside that we had. Often when the market gets a lot of excess, it gets a strong move in one direction, it has to spend some time balancing off that excess, just kind of like absorbing or digesting the move. So that's what I see yesterday's trade at. It was also very interesting that we closed yesterday right at the price that we opened at. So that's whenever you see the market close really close to the price that it opened at, and it was just rotating all day, you know that it was just absorbing a bigger move, and that really it was no new information that took place yesterday. Now, I brought up the fact that we could be entering a balance area because this was an area where we had balance before back in March. And looking at the overnight, the way it traded last night, trading above yesterday's high and staying inside Tuesday's range, that to me feels like the way the overnight would trade if we are beginning a multi-day balance here. So what I did this morning was I just zoomed out onto the daily and I just drew these lines here. This was the balance back in March that made those lows. Okay, that got us the continuation to the upside. So I went in there and I just kind of drew what is the balance area high there, what is the balance area low. And we can see that dipping below that balance area low the night before last is what caused the market to turn around and start heading up the other way. So, we don't necessarily have to have the same balance area high as before. We could make a new balance area high anywhere in here and start rotating. But I am now going to look at this low as the balance area low and see how the market reacts to the upside. So this morning, when I look at, the profile, I think to myself, either we're just going to go sideways inside the range, probably just like yesterday. I would see it as probably bouncing around inside the overnight range, somewhere like this. Or we try to test those lower levels and see, do we just dip below and pull back up, look below and fail of balance, or do we look below, get resistance, and get continuation, right? So that's two options. And then the third option is, if that was a dip below a balance area, what we would be expecting today is to head to the opposite end of balance. Now, that was up there at 42.95, back in March, does not mean that that has to be the balance area high. This time around, it might be the overnight high. It might be Tuesday's high. It could be anywhere in this area. But essentially, what I'm looking for is, can we get above yesterday's high, which is right here at 42.36, come back down and find support? If we can, I would be willing to go long to get continuation up, looking for a balance area high. So again, just to visualize that for you, if you zoom out and look at the daily, if this was the balance area before, it could be again, right? So that's what I mean is, if we can get above yesterday's high, come back down, find support, I'd be willing to go long to test and see, are we heading up to the opposite end of balance? Pretty much any move other than that, I assume we're heading down to test, at the very least, this node where the overnight put in all the time at 42.1150, and then monitoring for continuation lower from there. Okay, so the question is, we opened inside the previous day's range. We're expecting chop. When we push down into the 42.11 area, do we find support or does it break? There's an opportunity for a trade there. And if we can get above yesterday's high, do we come back down and find support or does it break? And then that is an opportunity as well. In between, I'm just looking for grind and chop and giving the market time to figure out what it wants to do here. If you have not yet, please smash that like button. It's a great way to help the channel. So again, looking for support. Can't give you an exact level, but somewhere between like 42.09 and 42.16, and then chop, right? Comes down into here, finds support, more grind. Early this morning. But if these levels break, if say, 42.09 breaks, the market is heading lower. There should be support waiting in here. Good morning, Scooball. Good to see you. Arthur, welcome. David Glass in the house. T-Bay, good to see you. Hustler Forever, good morning. Philip, welcome. Jack is here. Good morning to you. Rev, greetings. Ehab, are we now in a recession with negative GDP? Well, I'm not the person to ask those kind of questions to. I'm a day trader, brother. Taking it one day at a time. MW, good morning to you. Dean, good to see you. J Trader in the house. David V is here. Dean, I tested positive for COVID. Now you'll be okay. The newer strains are actually a bit weaker. They're easier to catch, but they're not as intense. Josh, good morning to you. Eldora, good to see you. Boss Man, good morning. Greg H, good to see you. JG with the GM, welcome, welcome. Ronald, good morning. TV back with us, good to see you. Scooball. Overnight was net long? Yes, overnight was net long. Xavier, good morning to you. And FRM, good to see you guys. Welcome. This Shaw back with us. Hello to you. All right, so we're looking for support in here and a trade back up towards the halfback at 42.26. If these levels break, we're heading down towards yesterday's lows. Or anyway, heading down towards 41.80s. And of course, we're then looking for resistance at halfback at 42.26 as the chop fest continues. Levi, good morning to you. Does anyone listen to music? Not me. I'm busy talking. Bob, good morning. Harry P says, I'm bearish, looking for resistance. Nothing wrong with that, but keep a close eye on that support. The overnight spent a lot of time debating this level, and they decided to take it higher. So there's buyers waiting in there. Do not fall in love with a short. MacVins, Charles, no gap and go here. No gap at all. We opened inside the previous day's range. You can see this little green circle. That's where we opened. We're inside the previous day, so there's no gap. Instead, we expect chop. Okay, so far both attempts to push into that support has instantly found buyers. It's not good taper on the low, though, so we do probably need to do a little more of an auction down there. Donkey says, good recession, everyone. Did I miss something? Did some terrible numbers come out or something this morning? Why is everybody talking about recession? Oh, GDP being negative. Oh, I see. Good times. Donkey, you didn't see the GDP print? Nah, man. I woke up. I opened up the market profile. I said, look above and fail. Look below and fail. Ready to trade. All I need is in the charts. Daniel, how is the buying? Can they push it or will they fall through support? Well, we got to wait and see. I don't have a crystal ball. I just know this is where the buyers would step in if they're going to, but I don't know if they will. I know how I would handle it if they don't, though. If the market fails to find support, I know it's heading lower and how I would position myself for that. But what's going to happen, I have no idea. So we're looking to push these ticks back above the zero line. This is the buyer's moment to defend. If it breaks, we're heading down towards 41.80s. All right, no support there. Next major support, 41.90, in between there and like 41.80, that whole area there. Notice how thin the volume is getting. We're leaving behind very low volume nodes. So it doesn't have to fall like a brick. We may slow grind our way down there. So now we're looking for, does previous support become resistance? Does that 42.16 area now become resistance for continuation to the downside? Screwball, if we go to the zero line at the ticks and then go positive again, is it new buyers there at support? Yeah. But this to me is not bullish. This to me is the beginning of more bearishness. If the buyers wanted to defend, this was their area to defend. So I think it's just quick bounce, looking for resistance, and continuation lower. Oh, also, I just noticed we were finding support at that 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles. So we know that gets weaker and weaker the more you poke at it. Levi says, in my experience, it's uncommon for the daytime session in NQ to break both the high and low of the overnight. On days when we do, moment of ends up breaking out into a trend day. Okay. Oh, you're saying if we were to head up and like test the high, come back down, break the low, that would lead to further downside continuation. Is that what you're trying to say? Yeah, I can get behind that. But there is extremely high probability. I don't know about the NQ, but I know in the ES to test either the high or low of the overnight. We do it almost every day. It's 50-50 whether it's the high or the low, but we test one or the other almost always. Money Kiddo, hello to you. Donkey says, not trading this morning. I assume the market is going to be very confused today. Everything was indicating oversold exhaustion, but the GDP print is a big deal. Screwball resistance, yes sir. Resistance. Look at them ticks. Smacked right back down. So once again, next support is 41.90. We will, of course, be testing that 20 moving average on the 15-minute candles once again at the low. That is an algorithm, so it just always buys. But if that breaks, we'll get the pop lower. It does get weaker and weaker the more you poke at it. So I'm putting up the bearish banner here, but it's important to note only very short term, only to get down to 41.90. We could chop inside yesterday's range all day long. So I'm not bearish like bigger picture, just very short term for the moment. If we find support in there, I'll be right back to neutral. RK ticks barely went negative. Would you describe those as positive ticks? Remember that the buying is artificial. It's bots that buy that 20 moving average. So if we keep poking at it, it'll break. GM, Charles, is your SPX and NDX charts on Thinkorswim? My 20 SMA, is it matching yours? Yeah, somebody else, Fausto, had that problem once. It has something to do with the overnight. But yeah, it's Thinkorswim. I can show you my exact settings. Simple moving average, close, 20, 0, no. That's what it looks like right there. ARK is down 62%. Yeah, dude. ARK looks hilarious. That chart just got beaten. But they should be getting some support soon. Just look at that. This reminds me of like Bitcoin in 2018. And it's so funny that it's like the entire premise of it is innovation. And then we had this huge disaster. The world went in lockdown. Everyone needed innovation. And like rocket fuel, this thing just... And now, boop, right back to where we were before that happened. Before the pandemic. But hey, if you like to buy blood, it's pretty bloody. Okay, we just pulled the value area inside yesterday's value. So that is sort of a neutral signal. And we're testing, or we're trying to break through that 20 moving average. So that's, you just lost those bots doing the buying. So next support, 41.90. Jason, I'm up 18 bucks. Hey man, you paid for your brigade membership this month. Buyers trying to defend yesterday's POC. Okay, so once again, as we push our way down into this node, where we put in all this volume yesterday, put in all this volume the night before last, put in all this volume 2 days ago, I'm looking for support in there. If we get it, I'll go back to neutral, looking for chop to head back up and test this resistance. If that fails, looking to head down towards yesterday's lows and monitor for continuation lower from there. Screwball were buyers at yesterday's POC week. No, it was just a random observation I made. That they just happened to stop right at the POC. But no deeper insight from that. I was just thinking out loud. Jacklo, good morning to you. Cobra, I think we're going to 41.01 to close the gap. Is there a gap? Uh, 41.01. Yeah, I don't see any gaps. But talking about the balance, if we break out below this balance, remember this is the balance that we're looking at right now. If we break below that, monitor for continuation to the downside. All right, so once again, testing the resistance up here at 42.09. I will switch back to neutral if we're able to get those ticks above the zero line and get through that. Otherwise, I assume we've still got another push lower. Yeah, I started by looking at the SPX, Donkey. That was the first thing I looked at. The only gap I saw in the SPX already got backfilled. This gap right here, it got filled in February 24th. All right, well, I'm going back to neutral with the ticks recovering like this. We may still have another push lower, but I'm almost certain we'll find support here and get continued chop if we do. So I think we're looking at a grindy market for a little bit here. Pretty much looking for chop like in between these levels. This is not exact science, obviously, but just like to give you a understanding of what my mind is assuming. Like I said this morning, a rotational day inside the overnight range would make sense if we're inside balance. You know, when the market is balancing, it just goes sideways. So I got to see us push down here, come back up, find some resistance to assume I should be bearish beyond that. I got to see us push up here, find some support to assume I should be bullish beyond that. Otherwise, I bet you we're just going to have another boring rotational day. Not unlike yesterday. Andrew, so if there's chop, do you not take trades in those areas? You can. They just have to be scalps. They have to be very, very quick trades. You can't sit in it and wait. Because the thing about chop is it can reverse at any moment for any reason. Rotation is not boring if you're scalping. Yeah, I don't mean boring like you can't make money. I mean boring like from a live streaming standpoint. There's nothing to talk about. You know, when a market is rotational, you've got your high, you got your low, you got your POC, and there's really not much else to do but just watch it go up and down. So it's boring for me as a streamer. But yeah, plenty of opportunity to make money. Especially with this big of ranges, with this much volatility. Xavier, that next support is yesterday's mid. Yesterday's halfback. No, I mean, I guess kind of that's where it's finding support, but it's a little bit above there. But again, I just see this as chop. I just see this as half the participants think it's going to go up, half think it's going to go down, and they're just picking each other's pockets right now. Waiting for some sort of change to occur. Donkey. You know me. I love me some grinder. I was just hanging out with a buddy last night, and we were both commiserating about how lucky gay men are. Grinder is just like the most beautiful thing on earth if you're a gay man. You can get on there and get laid in less than 2 minutes anywhere you are in the world. No work required. Just, hey, I think you look good. Let's meet at this random bathroom. Like, just like that. Must be nice. Okay, so once again, testing this area around 4209 for resistance. As the chop continues. All right, well, the ticks got through the zero line and they pushed through that resistance. So looking for a chop upwards. Next resistance around 4220. Actually, the half back, 4215, and then 4220. There you go. Roku. There's another one. If you like to buy when there's blood in the streets, that's pretty bad. Skubal ticks are trending lower. Yeah, a little bit. On the NQ, definitely. Nilesh, good morning to you. Okay, so we're pushing into this support here around between like 41.80 and 41.90. If that can hold, we'll get continued grind and chop. If it breaks, I would look to head down towards yesterday's lows. But at the moment, I bet you there's support waiting. All right, so with the printing of the C period here, we've left behind some single prints in the B period. So we will look for the market to try to backfill those single prints and then get resistance at 42.02. If the C period comes down here and repairs this poor low, we are beginning to one time frame lower, which is bearish. So one time framing lower and breaking through this support would be very bearish to me for continuation to the downside. But you'll have a chance to get in if they backfill those single prints and get resistance at 42.02. Okay, testing that support. With that, I shall bid you all farewell. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you want to hang out for the rest of the day, you only got to pay $10 a month. Think about that. Hours and hours and hours every single day for just $10 a month? What a deal. If you do want to join the brigade, there's a link in the description as well as at that comment at the top of the chat. We'd love to have you. If not, I shall see you here tomorrow morning. Have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.